Okay, let's say you have chronic hip pain. You've gone to the doctor, you've got imaging, x-rays, MRIs, everything you've done, and the x-rays and MRIs are negative. That's a real head scratcher for most people who have suffered for many years with, say, hip pain when they think they may be bone on bone or need a hip replacement. Most hip imbalances come from a huge system from head to toe of a neuromuscular patterning. The patterning comes from the fact that we have a writing reflex in our inner ear. It's a tiny little reflex that I swear medical doctors learn about in the first week of med school. Then they get into the complexities of how crazy the body actually is, and they forget about the basics. Everything that I do here at Mojo Physio is all based on this reflex, because now physics come into play. You have an inner ear reflex called a writing reflex. All its job is to keep your eyeballs level with the horizon. Its main job is to keep you in equilibrium and keep you from ever becoming dizzy. Dizziness is considered the ultimate form of dysfunction. They say when we get really serious bouts of vertigo, we actually start to die, that our organs shut down. It's a big deal. It's such a big deal that our miraculous brain has an actual defense system built in that nobody pays attention to, that nobody looks at as a source of chronic relief, but that's all we look at. That is the source of everything that we do to find where your actual imbalanced patterns are. Now, when we talk about the hips, right through the center of the pubic bone is the center of balance for the human body. I had an instructor tell me years ago, and this is what, I'm a visual guy, so this made sense to me. He said, if you took a skeleton and you put a stick right through the middle of the pubic bone and you picked it up, if the body was balanced, that skeleton would balance on the stick. Most people are falling off the planes in which we're measured. Most people have really bad posture, so you put a stick through the center, pick it up, it'll fall over. That made sense to me, but what's significant, in the thousands of clients that I've had over my 30-year career, I've never seen a pair of hips that were balanced. Everybody's hips are torqued, tweaked, forward, tilted, whatever the case may be, but I've never found a pair of hips that were actually balanced. What that has to do with the writing reflex and equilibrium is everything. You got two entities kind of fighting each other, and the one in charge is the one up top, because function is equilibrium. Dysfunction is out of equilibrium, or dizziness or uneasiness. So when we look at hip issues, we look much larger than the spot that hurts. And the main thing, if we get down to the actual nitty-gritty of the muscular system, the main muscles that make the hips work are the quads, the hammies, the glutes. They're all part of this whole complex puzzle. The quads are everything. Everything that we do here in our clinic is about the quads. We have had goofy t-shirts that say it's all about the quads, and people say, what does that mean? Well, I've never had, in the hundreds of professional athletes I've worked on, thousands of regular folks, I've trained many, many therapists. I've never had one therapist, one professional athlete, or any regular client ever have their quads addressed or worked as a solution to any of their issues. The quads are the secret to everything, because the quads attach to the front of your hips and the quads shorten. The only thing a muscle can do is contract or relax. It pulls, it doesn't push. So if your quads get tight, and for whatever reason, they're going to shorten. When they shorten, they pull your pelvis in what's called an anterior tilt. If you have an anterior tilt, and that's probably 98% of human beings. There are rare people who have a posterior tilt, but what that does is an anterior tilt pulls your pelvis forward, makes you have too much curve in your low back, but pulling forward pulls the eyeballs off, okay? Back to that writing reflex, I go visually a step further, and I tell clients they have the equivalent of a level bubble between their eyeballs. If you can picture a level like you'd hang a picture with, picture a level bubble between your eyeballs. The reflex's job uses millions of visual inputs to keep that bubble level at all costs, no matter what's going on. So no matter what's going on in the rest of the body, that bubble has to be level for you to remain in equilibrium. So I know when people walk in my door, they're in equilibrium. They drove here, they're functional, they walk in my office, so I know that thing's working. But it's only working because the entire neuromuscular system is altering itself literally from the tips of your toes all the way up to your jaw, which is the last weight-bearing joint, and everything in between has this huge alteration of movement, mobility, and things like this. So when you talk about the hip pain, if I have forward hips, my quads are pulling me down, it's pulling my bubble off, the brain, the nervous system has to counter all of this attention that it's getting for balance.